Hey everybody, Tonya here with Critical Bench, holistic health practitioner and nutrition expert. And what I want to talk about today is what is a ketogenic diet? There is so much buzz about the ketogenic diet. Well, I suppose there's a buzz about a lot of diets, but the ketogenic diet is gaining a lot of attention. And with that comes a lot of questions and sometimes a lot of misinformation or misconceptions, myths, just uncertainties. So in this video today, I do want to talk about the ketogenic diet. I'm going to keep it very simple, very basic, just kind of hit some high points, some things that I really want you to think about, some things I want you to consider, and hopefully, if anything, it gets you asking questions, because one of the best, most informed decisions you can make is when you ask more questions, okay? So here we go. What is a ketogenic diet? Well, a ketogenic diet in the most simple terms is a high fat, moderate protein, and very low carb diet. Now, just to give you a little bit, very brief background on the ketogenic diet, it was initially developed by a Dr. Wilder in the 1920, 1921, and he came up with this diet or designed this diet as a treatment method for his patients that had epilepsy. Now, from there, like with a lot of things, once they are invented, designed, developed, and then put into practice, we start to see other results, like a rock. When you drop a rock or a pebble in water and what ripples out. So one of the things, or one of the results that a ketogenic diet showed us was tremendous and significant weight loss. So you can imagine the hype, the buzz, and the excitement that that generated among the general public. So how does a ketogenic diet work? Well, again, in very simple terms, it turns your body from a sugar burning machine into a fat burning machine. Well, how does it do that? It's pretty simple. Basically, your body burns, as a primary fuel source, your body will burn glucose. And where do we get glucose from? We get glucose from eating carbohydrates. Okay, we consume carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are digested and we make glucose. The glucose becomes that primary fuel source that your cells go to for energy and for all the functions that they need to perform. When we adopt a ketogenic diet and way of eating, what we do is we significantly decrease our carbohydrate intake and significantly increase our healthy fat intake. Now, it's important to pay attention that I said healthy fats, okay? I'm not talking about deep fried type of foods, talking about healthy fats. We significantly increase our daily intake of healthy fats, which then makes our body produce ketones, and ketones then become the primary fuel source for our cells to use, because as the glucose stores run out or become so reduced that there isn't enough supply, the body needs some form of fuel. It needs something to use for energy, something for cellular repair, for growth, for maintenance, for energy, for all the things that you do every single day. So when glucose stores get so low that there isn't enough there to provide the energy that your body needs to get through its day, it needs to find another source. So if we can replace that with an alternative that's as effective, your body will do that, because really your body is one of the most brilliant machines on the planet. It will adapt and do whatever it has to work and survive and to function. So now we've increased the fats that you're eating, your body's making ketones, we've drastically reduced glucose stores, so your cells are now using ketones, fat, for energy. So as a result, burning this fat means you're burning fat. So think about it. You're consuming more fat, your body's using that fat for energy, and in the process, it's burning fat. So in a nutshell, that is why people that are on a ketogenic diet that are able to be consistent and sustain that as a lifestyle do experience a significant and dramatic loss in body weight, specifically excess body fat. So when we start talking about the ketogenic diet and the basics and what does it look like, what are the numbers we're talking about? And when I say numbers, I mean the amount of grams or the percentages that you are consuming daily to sustain a state of ketosis, to stay ketogenic. And broad general consensus is that a ketogenic diet is 75% fats, healthy fats, 20% protein, and 5% carbs. So as you can see or hear, that's quite a difference, 75% fats to 5% carbs. So when I say we drastically reduce carbohydrate intake, I'm not kidding and I'm not over-exaggerating that. That is a drastic decrease in carbohydrates. And that can be one of the challenges with the ketogenic diet. It is not an impossible diet. For some people, it's very, very easy. For others, it's a little more difficult. This is really, it's a personal choice. I'm not going to sell you a ketogenic diet, and I'm not going to not sell you a ketogenic diet. What I'm here to do today, why I'm talking to you about this today, is because I want you to have as much information as you need to go out and even seek out more information, resources to make the most informed and best decision for you. So again, you're looking at a diet that's 75% fats, 20% protein, 5% carbs, so moderate protein levels. And that can become one of the tricky things in the ketogenic diet. People getting started, not having done it before, not having a lot of experience, and maybe not having enough resources or places to go to for support, can sometimes find that they're consuming too high of protein. So you really want to make sure that you've got your numbers and your targets set. And that is going to be based on things like your height, your current weight, current body fat, if you can, if you have a means or a way or somebody who can help measure that for you. And you want to get dialed in. And what I mean by dialed in is you want to make this diet as specific to you in terms of the numbers and targets you want to hit daily so that it actually works, because there's nothing more disappointing or frustrating than being very motivated and very committed to starting something, especially if you're wanting to improve lifestyle, lose weight, just feel better in general, to get really hyped up and ready to go with that, and then to just struggle and not get results and feel like things are kind of going backwards. So with a ketogenic diet, it's quite regimented. I wouldn't necessarily call it extreme, because extreme is an extreme word. It's very different. But it is very regimented for a particular reason. Those numbers are what they are to get the results that people are after. So get dialed in, and if you need help with that, get help with that. There are some very great resources online. There are some really knowledgeable people out there that can help, but get dialed in. Find out what specifically grams per day of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats that you need to be consuming to be on a ketogenic diet and sustain it. Now, if a ketogenic diet is something you've been looking into, you've been kind of tossing it around, the pros, the cons, you've got your list, you've talked to friends, you've done some research and you've done some digging, and you have decided that this is definitely something you want to do, you're going to be a beginner, okay? This is new to you. And you have to be very realistic about it, okay? You're going to actually go from having eaten a certain way with certain patterns of behavior around food that you've sustained and maintained for a long time, 20, 30, 40 years. And now, all of a sudden, you're going to dive into this whole new regime that's going to be very different. So as a beginner, I would caution you to be very realistic, be very patient with yourself, and be very kind to yourself. Because anything new, especially something that comes with some pretty strict parameters and borders, has its challenges. It has its challenges physically as well as mentally. So be realistic. Get yourself mentally prepared for what is going to have to happen. Get some support. Tell people. One of the greatest ways to support your success in something is to tell somebody else. They're going to help you be accountable, but they're also going to give you that, when on those days when you think, I don't feel great, I don't want to do this is too hard, I'm not getting the results I want, all of that. So tell some people, get some support, be realistic. Do some research. Get armed with some really great books, recipe books, meal prep books, meal planning books, things like that, so that you can actually get into this with something that you can use and utilize to prepare your food, prepare your meals, and see you through the next few weeks and days. Now, before I go any further, as far as talking about other aspects of the ketogenic diet, I want to touch on the fact that if this is something you are just starting or new to, you really should, or I would recommend you check in with your family physician. If you have any pre-existing conditions whatsoever, if you've had any serious food allergies, if you've had any sort of health issue, whether it's pre-existing or new, it's always a good idea to check with your family doctor and just hear what they have to say. They can obviously help you with any recommendations. They can also be a great means of support and information for you. But it's never a bad idea to check in with your family doctor, let he or she know what it is you want to do, and listen to what they have to say and take that into account when looking ahead and planning this for yourself. So what are some of the basics when it comes to a ketogenic diet? We've already discussed that it's 75% fats, 20% protein, and 5% carbs. So high fat, moderate protein, low carbs. But what does that look like on your plate? Okay, what kind of foods does that include? And typically when people hear the word fat and when you start throwing out numbers like 75% fat intake, it can be very daunting. It can be very, make you feel very anxious, because fat is a word and a term that's typically associated with all kinds of negative things, especially when what your goal might be is to lose body fat, and then this diet says, well, you're going to be eating 75% of your total diet is going to come from fats. That can seem like, well, that just doesn't sound right. So it's important to be able to separate the good from the not so good, okay? There is, good fats, not so good fats. So with the ketogenic diet, obviously, we're talking about high impact, high volume, healthy, good for you fats, avocados, nuts, seeds, meats, like lean, nice cuts of meats that have their fat content but are good for you. High quality whole dairy, Greek yogurt, hard cheeses, all of those are elements and components of a solid, well balanced out ketogenic diet. For your proteins, well, meats are your excellent source of protein. And you want to really watch that 20% and know what your grams are per day. So that will be figured out when you figure out what your numbers are and what those targets are per day. And just watch that and choose ones that pack a high nutritional punch. Choose ones that you like. Here's the other thing, when choosing these foods, choose things that you enjoy eating, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be able to stick to it, okay? Carbs. Now, where are your carbs coming from? Well, they're not coming from bread or white rice, okay? Mostly your carbs are going to be coming from fresh vegetables, okay? And typically above ground vegetables, leafy greens, kale, spinach, things of that nature are your best options, because they're also going to provide you with necessary vitamins and minerals that you want to make sure you're not becoming deficient in. Because one of the risks, or one of the things that can happen with a ketogenic diet is, you're following it to the letter, you're feeling great, you're losing body fat, you're finding you have more energy, you're sleeping better, your blood sugar levels are under control, but you might be becoming deficient in some vitamins and minerals. So choose those good, bright green, above ground, fresh, organic vegetables, and if necessary, supplement. Again, this might be a really good time to check in with a doctor, get some blood work done, just find out where things are at. The best indication, or the best means of evaluating if something's working for you or not, is to be very realistic in how you're feeling. You may want this to work for you more than anything, but if you are just not feeling good, if it's been a month or more and you are not feeling good, then you need to start asking some hard questions as to why. And it might not be that you're not following the diet, or that the diet isn't necessarily working for you. It might be that there's just some aspect, something that's missing, a missing link, something that you're a little too low in or a little too high in, and it needs adjusting. So be very aware, be very conscious of how you're feeling and how you're responding, and make any necessary adjustments. And if you're not sure what that is, then ask somebody who can help you. Probably the most common across the bar complaint or issue that many people have when they start a ketogenic diet is what's called the keto flu. Now, you may have heard that term, and you may have wondered or asked yourself, is that even really a thing? Well, it actually is, okay? And here's why. I've already mentioned, you have made a decision, okay? You've done the research, you like what you read, you like what you see, you like what you hear, and all systems point towards you doing this diet, and you are very committed. Great. Now, chances are you've been eating a certain way for a very long time, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I don't know. But your body is in a pattern of how you've been feeding it, how you've been fueling it, how you've been behaving with food and around food. So that is what it's used to. And now you're going to adopt and bring in a very new lifestyle kind of diet that is quite regimented. It's, you're going to be sticking within a framework of numbers. You have to give yourself time to adjust. Your body is not just going to instantly go, oh, I'm burning fats instead of sugars for fuel, great, let's just make the switch. It's not, I mean, it is that simple, but saying it is a lot better than what that actually may feel like and how that may actually present in your body. So what most people, a lot of people actually say is that when they start a ketogenic diet, they get going, and after a couple days, for about 4 or 5 days, maybe a week, they feel like they've got the flu. They've got no energy. They're headachy. They're achy. They just don't feel all that great. So what's happening is your body is adjusting to the fact that it's no longer having access to all that glucose it used to, and it has to find another fuel source. So you're adding in the fats, you're feeding it those fats, and you just have to give your body time to adjust to going, oh, wait a second. Okay, I don't have the glucose, but I do have ketones over here. I've got all this fat that's coming in, and I can use that to do all the things I used to do, all the things that I'm supposed to do, all the things that I'm meant to do. So be patient. Be very patient, get lots of rest, drink lots of water. Don't bail on it right away. You know, give yourself that time, give your body that time to adjust and adapt, because it knows what to do and it will do that. So besides fat loss or weight loss, what are some of the other benefits that people have mentioned as going on to a keto or taking on a ketogenic diet? One is more controlled level blood sugar levels. So when we eat carbohydrates, and sometimes when we choose, or our go-tos are the not as healthful carbohydrates, we tend to pick things that are very high in the white sugars, the processed stuff, the stuff that isn't as good for us but tastes really great. And what happens is we get that burst of energy and then a crash. So we can get these blood sugar spikes that do this, where we feel great, we feel low, we feel great, we feel low, and they can be very tiring and exhausting and dragging, and they can really fog up the brain. What people have experienced being on a ketogenic diet for a while is blood sugar levels, they level out, they're more consistent, because fats tend to last longer, so they provide longer sustainable energy. So you avoid those peaks and valleys, which is really good, because you're more consistent, you feel more satiated, you've got that clarity, you've got that energy without a burst and then a sudden crash. So is the ketogenic diet right for you? That's really not for me to say, but that's something that you need to figure out and decide what, if it is. I think it's very important to ask yourself why you want to start a ketogenic diet, and be very honest with yourself as far as how long are you willing to commit to it. This is not a 2-week diet. This is not I'm going to do it for 4 weeks before my Mexican holiday so I can look great in a bathing suit. I don't really think this is not the kind of diet that's a short-term, I need to look really good for this event. Okay, this is a lifestyle diet. You need to give your body that chance and that time to adapt into becoming a fat-burning machine. And I think once you get to that point, the actual the ability to sustain that over a longer period of time is much higher, which means greater success for you. But if you're thinking of doing it for 2 weeks or a month, I don't know that you're going to get the results that you want, and I can almost guarantee you're not actually going to be able to sustain those results, okay? Because now you're just bouncing back and forth from one way of eating into another, and your body's going to it's going to feel very exhausted, switching back and forth. And every time you go into a keto diet and then off of a keto diet, you're having to ask your body to switch its fuel sources over and over again. So this keto flu that I talked about, these feelings of low energy and achiness, you're going to be having a lot of those kinds of days, and I don't think that's anything anybody wants. So I would caution you, or I would ask you to very sincerely look at, is this something you want to start that you can commit to for the long term, or is it a fad? Does it sound really good because you think and believe that you're going to get some really quick results right away? You probably will get those results, but do you want to maintain them? So that's something you have to ask yourself. Now, if the answer is this is really something you really, really want to do, you've checked with your doctor, you've done a lot of research, you've asked a lot of questions, and you really want to do this, then good for you. Don't ever stop asking questions. There's lots of great information out there, so keep asking those questions and get some support. Okay, I did mention earlier, tell somebody, because it helps keep you accountable, and it also has somebody sort of in your corner rooting for you on those days that you're done with it, you want to stop, you don't like it, you're having a bad day, you feel lousy, okay? but get involved. There's some great groups online. There's some great Facebook groups. There's lots of things out there. There's lots of people. There are lots of people out there who are doing the same thing or who have done the same thing that are probably some of the best feedback resources that you could ask for. I mean, if you want to know how something works and what works about it, what doesn't work about it, what is great about it, what's not so great about it, ask somebody who's done it. Find the people who have done it, that are on it, that love it, that it's working for them. And also, don't be scared to seek out the ones who tried it, didn't like it, and stopped, because that's information there too. It's not a diet for everybody, but those that are on it, that stick to it, like it because it's working for them. So you have to find out what works for you. It is a good diet. It certainly can work for you great. You just need to know what you're doing. You need to be committed to those numbers. You need to be committed to eating that way, to stay in ketosis so that you are actually on a ketogenic diet and you are actually getting those results and that success. All right, so there you are in a nutshell, very quickly, very simply, what the ketogenic diet is, why it works, how it works, what you can expect, what the benefits are, what some of the risks or some things you might want to look at and make sure you're aware of before starting it. And also, is it something that you really want to do? I hope that this video has helped. I hope, if anything, it's got you thinking more, asking more questions, and you go out there looking for more information. But that's kind of it. From sugar burning to fat burning, there's a lot of success stories out there with it, but ultimately it's a choice that you need to make for yourself, and a very realistic choice you need to make for yourself. Hey, thanks for joining me today and thanks for listening. I hope this video helped and I hope it gave you a lot of information that's quite useful to you. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel down here. Look, before you go, I want to give you something free. Just click down here, enter your email for this free report, 6 ways to tame your cravings. It's yours instantly. Just enter your email and you can download that right away. Or you can just click this box up here and have access to that right away. Thanks for joining us. Check us out. We've got some great videos and content here. Have a great day.